Hey guys, what is up? This is Nephis here. It is time to Nephis and chill. In this video today, we're going to be looking at the Update 24 combat preview posted by ZeniMax Online Studios on the official forums today. But before we get started, I want to go back to my previous video about PAX West and the rumors and the screenshots from it. Gina actually did post an update in a forum thread about the screenshots, and joining me today is a special guest, Riffy, and one of my favorites. And she said, hey guys, just want to clear some things up here. First, we did ask players to not take photos or videos of the gameplay, blah blah blah. The build was shown was not the PTS build, so apparently there's a build also floating around showing some insane stuff. Any screenshots that are being circulated are mostly, keyword, fake, as many of the combat changes aren't even implemented into this build yet. And by build, they don't mean like a PvP or PvE build, they mean like the prototype for the Dragonhold patch, like the PTS, was not close to being finalized. So even they don't know, hey, what are we going to put in PTS yet? Please take any information you see with a large grain of salt. The focus of the gameplay being shown at the event was on the zone of Southern Elsewhere and its content, and there's actually an article out on the internet of this guy who did playtest the demo for Southern Elsewhere, and it definitely sounds pretty fun in terms of the questline. What was really interesting to read about was that apparently, like, the voice actors, their voices were not even implemented into the demo yet, so it was like computer voices telling you what to do in the quest and stuff like that. So I found that pretty interesting. I'll probably put a link down to the article, spoiler alert, for Dragonhold in the video description below, so check it out. So let's move on to Update 24 combat preview, so the real stuff, the official announcement for what their intentions are for the Dragonhold DLC in Update 24. Right now we're in Update 23, Scalebreaker DLC. Looks like she's pooped out. And this is Brian Wheeler, who is the lead PvP designer, plus the lead combat designer as well, after the departure of Rubble. He said, hey gang, with Update 24 rapidly approaching, we want to give everyone an idea of the changes in store for combat and abilities. There will, of course, be highly detailed patch notes on the PTS hits with developer comments, but this post covers the broader theme, so they just want to go into the general ideas of what they're going to do with this next patch. And for those of you who don't know, the performance fix timeline that they announced from QuakeCon is actually going to be starting up soon with Update 24 as well, I believe, like memory overhaul and stuff like that. So something also to look forward to as well. The combat changes in Update 24 are much more narrow than the ability audits in Update 22 and 23. And they kind of go into it. They're like, hey guys, just don't worry about it. Like, what you see right now, the dot meta and all that stuff, is not the end result. And this I said before many times, even on the PTS for Scalebreaker. Well, ultimately, this is not going to be set in stone. And they pretty much say that here, like, our audit pass doesn't mean our numbers are engraved in stone, and they want to correct a few things, and they did acknowledge that the dot meta is kind of too much. I think they said it swung the pendulum a bit too far in the other direction. And then they said they will probably nerf dots, but not nerf hots, which are heal over time abilities, and I think that's good. That they're not trying to adjust everything all at once. I don't think healing over time abilities, personally, especially in regards to how PvE and PvP are intermingled, especially for PvE, I don't think HOTS need a nerf. I don't think HOTS need adjusting at the moment. And they said they also adjusted standards of area of effect based dots to once again do similar damage to single target counterparts, but with a much greater cost. So they're saying, okay, well, we heard your feedback about AoEs, especially in PvE, not really being great. But then they're going to be like, okay, we're going to bring it back up, but it's going to cost more ever than before in terms of stamina and magicka. I'm assuming that's what they're saying. With the Necromancer, which is, so this is going to be a little controversial for those of you who main Necro of any kind in PvP or PvE. Necromancer as a class, let's be real here, it was kind of disappointing in some ways, and some of the abilities not working was not so good. But then they said with the Necromancer we achieved a very clear class identity through their kit. You all have expressed strong desires for other classes to get updates to match that identity, and we are listening in Update 24. We are giving Dragon Knights, Wardens, and Sorcerers several updates to reinforce class identity, and in some cases grant new gameplay options. So, I'm going to assume that Magic and Stamina Dragon Knights, Magic and Stamina Wardens, and Magic and Stamina Sorks are going to be visited by the devs to see if, they get more class options. And I think Stamina Sorcerer is going to be definitely one of those classes that needed. I know a lot of Warden players have a lot of pain points too, and hopefully a lot of these pain points regarding Dragon Knights, Wardens, and Sorcerers are addressed instead of new ones being created. So hoping for the best. And I can already probably imagine people angrily typing on the forums or in my comment section, oh well, they're not touching Magblade, they're not touching Templar or whatever, just give up. But I think it's good news that they're sort of taking it piece by piece instead of trying to do all the classes at once in one big update. So I'm just gonna not hold my breath, but at the same time I'm gonna be patient and be okay, well, they're gonna do these 3 classes first and the rest later on. And they did say in a previous announcement that they're gonna do it over time. Sorry, that's my ferret in the background, my other ferret in the background playing in the tunnel. But yeah, they're definitely gonna address class identity. Now, class identity is gonna be a huge thing to look forward to or look at in terms of what they want to do. And ultimately, they want to make sure class abilities have good usage cases and bring something extra. So, for example, they gave a pretty specific example here, which I think a lot of Wardens might be happy about. Warden's dive ability was either magic or stamina based, which is a standard morph choice, and that was it. We are adding a secondary effect of putting enemies off balance when hitting enemies further than 12 meters away. So that's, I think, actually a pretty good change. It's these types of adjustments we're looking to add to classes as a whole. So they're not just focusing on Dragon Knights, Sorcerers, and Wardens. They're going to be doing every class. And they want to add more identity and functionality without heavy reliance on skill lines outside of their class kit. And if you're a Stam Sork or whatever, this is pretty big. Because Stam Sorks, even way before Scalebreaker, have been lacking a lot of class identity or class skills that they can use. Hurricane, armaments, and crit surge, and maybe that's it. Meanwhile, every other class had 5 to 8 class abilities or something like that. So especially Nightblade. Nightblade was such a great example of a class that had so much usage from their class kit. It was pretty insane if you compared it to the Stam Sork. So I'm glad that they're looking at the class identity for Update 24 and starting in Update 24, because this is going to be a work in progress over several patches most likely. And they are also adding several quality of life additions. Major and minor buffs will now display what they actually do instead of just displaying their name in your character sheet or in your gear. So this will definitely help some new players quite a bit. Sprint and mount sprint are now handled by the server more efficiently. Okay, you'll notice that your stamina bar will drain gradually instead of in chunks. And functionality will basically remain the same. We lowered the cost of sprint, interesting, and fixed an old bug where you could sprint infinitely after mounting. Oh, okay, so the old bug where you could sprint infinitely after mounting, I don't think that was necessary, but it is a bug, but I don't think that was a quality of life. I mean, a lot of people get a lot of use out of it in big PvE zones, especially Cyrodiil. Man, that old bug definitely helps. So I'm not sure if that's a quality of life improvement in a way. I understand wanting to fix it, but it's kind of like the bug or thing that they allowed to exist, where you could swap abilities in and out during combat as long as you didn't heal or touch or DPS anything. That was a pretty cool thing for a lot of players in both PvE and PvP, and they fixed it, and there was a lot of people very upset by that, and for good reason. These changes are part of a larger effort to reduce the amount of information the ability system has to handle in combat. Okay, so they're still trying to streamline things and optimize the system. We're looking to do more passes like this, not just sprint, to block, dodge roll, and sneak in the future. And that wraps up the bigger picture of changes coming in update 24. And they say, hey, this is not the first or last of it. This is a work in progress. So this is going to be a very interesting patch coming up. I'm very curious now what update 24 PTS is going to reveal. And this is definitely a very interesting post for us to gain a glimpse into what the devs are up to for sure. I am particularly interested in what they're going to do with the Sorcerer and the Warding clause. I think Dragon Knights are like sort of okay in terms of class identity, mag DK, stam DK, especially as PvE tanks. And right now, some people DPSing, I think it's okay. Healer-wise, I think Dragon Knight as a healer class is also okay. But the Warden and Sorcerer definitely need a huge looking at. That I definitely agree with, especially in regards to PvE. So this is going to be a very interesting patch. But yeah, that is pretty much it for the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and hopefully you also enjoyed my special guest while we were reading the patch notes, or not the patch notes, but the Update 24 combat preview. And I'll also leave the link to this forum thread in the description down below, so you guys can read it for yourself. So, I guess we gotta go. And thanks for Nefes and chilling with us, guys. Stay safe, have fun, and see you next time.